Hi, it's Wednesday. That means it's time for another video edition of Widower Wednesday. I'm Abel Keogh, author of Dating a Widower, and this is part two of Dating a Widower with Adult Children. We're going to discuss unique issues that come with widowers and their adult children. In this episode, we're going to be specifically discussing inheritances, estate planning, and what to do if the widower's kids think you're a gold digger who's basically there for his money. We'll also be discussing what happens or how you should act and what the widower should do if the kids are acting like jerks on social media, because if there's one thing we know, no one ever acts like a jerk on social media. All right, so we're going to start one of the issues. We're going to start by discussing inheritance and maybe some estate planning issues. So some of the concerns that I see that come up is that, especially if the relationship moves towards marriage or is really close to marriage, is that the widower's children suddenly become concerned about their inheritance. They become concerned that this new woman is that the widower will either cut them out of the will, or that instead of having whatever his assets are being divided between whatever 2, 3, 4 kids, they're now going to be divided between 2, 3, 4 kids, maybe, and his new wife, which means they might get a smaller piece of the pie, a bigger, basically they think they're getting a smaller piece of the pie. And then, or a lot of times they'll think that the woman's just dating their dad because their dad's rich and she's after all of his money. And again, I think it comes back to the inheritance issue, is that they're worried about inheritance and, dividing up or getting a smaller share of their father's assets. So I'm going to talk a little bit bluntly about this. Not so much maybe what you should do, but I'm really going to discuss a philosophy about money and assets and ownership, and then you can apply them to the relationship as you see best. So my personal philosophy when it comes to inheritance is that my kids aren't entitled to anything of mine. And it's not just I feel that way. I don't think I'm entitled to anything of my parents. So if they pass on and my parents want to leave all the money to a nonprofit organization, if they want to leave it, I don't know, or give it to someone outside the family, or they just want to up and sell it and give the cash, I don't know, to some homeless guy in the street, it is their money. It is their assets. They have worked for it. They have earned it. Therefore, they can do what they want with it. And so similarly, I would argue that whatever assets I have when I die are mine. And assuming that Julie and Marathon Girl is still alive, they can become hers. I don't have a problem with obviously transferring ownership of property to a spouse, but essentially, I am raising my kids. I am telling my kids that there may be an inheritance for them, there may not be, and they shouldn't plan on it. And I think it is wrong, and I think the whole attitude of feeling entitled to somebody's estate simply because they're your child needs to change. I am not a fan of this at all. I'm a fan of, when you die, the government thinks they need a big chunk of your money. The government didn't do anything. They've taxed it all this time. Now they want more. I'm not a fan of that either. I think it's the same mentality. So I guess the first thing I would do is, if you have kids that are worried about their inheritance, I would lay down the law. And if you want to give something to your kids, I don't have a problem with that. I may end up giving some of my assets to some of my kids. I don't know. I haven't made that decision yet. Right now, if I die, everything goes to a Marathon Girl, and if we both die, it goes to a trust. It's set up just like that. But basically, I would lay down the law with your kids. If this is a big issue for your kids, the first thing I would probably, tell your kids is that, well, it's your stuff and you can do with it whatever you want. And if you keep whining and complaining about it, there's not going to be anything for you. And they shouldn't plan on it, and they honestly shouldn't care about it. So, I guess my first philosophy is to maybe think about your attitude about assets and ownership, and think of that. But I definitely think if your kids are worried about their inheritance, they need a reality check, because no one should be planning on anybody's inheritance or anybody else's work to maybe support them or make their life easier or better. So if it is an issue, though, if you feel like giving things to your kids when you're gone, I think that's fine, but I would get some estate planning done probably before you tie the knot or soon after you tie the knot with your new wife, and let them know and set up expectations early and say, look, this is fine, whatever. Here's my assets. When I die, sweetie, you're going to have the house and maybe some money, and I'm going to divide these other assets between my kids. I do think it's unfair. I have seen it a couple of times where the widower wants to cut the new wife out completely for some reason, and I don't understand that. It's like, well, if you've loved this person enough to marry him, why are you cutting them completely? Why did you even marry them if you're going to cut them completely out of your assets, especially when you get older? But I say, I think some estate planning is in order. And again, I don't think there's necessarily anything. Again, it's your money; you can do with it as you want. But I think disputes over money and who gets how much of the pie is pretty stupid. And it's stupid things like that. And it's a stupid thing to tear a family apart or to maybe even ruin your marriage over. So if you're not married, but you're looking at it, sit down with an attorney, get it drafted up. And if you are married, figure out. But, again, there might be laws on different states and then different countries what you can do now that you're married. But at the very least, again, get it drawn up and set expectations with the wife and the kids that this is what's going to happen. And just keep in mind that it's your stuff and you're not entitled to give it to anybody or anyone. And if people are being jerks about it, I wouldn't be. I fully support you in saying if you're going to be a jerk about it, we're cutting you out. And I think it's just the entitlement mentality that people think that they're entitled to other people's money, and they're not. I'm not entitled to your money. You're not entitled to my money, and we all live happily ever after. And again, I think if there's accusations of the new girlfriend or the new wife being a gold digger, the widower needs to sit down with his kids and just address this. And again, it may be, look, I have assets. I've already said I already have a will or whatever, and you are getting this and you are getting that, and she'll be taken care of, and everything will be fine. But again, it comes down, and I guess my thing would be is if you have incredible assets and you think someone is is marrying you just for your money, well, then there's things you can do before you get married to maybe do that. But I think again, it comes down to discourage that, but it comes down to estate planning. But as far as I'm concerned, if you love somebody enough to marry them, again, I think as a spouse, especially if you're working together and living together and basically doing a life together, like I said, I don't have any problem if I was to die first for all my assets to go to my wife. Zero problem with that. I guess in my mind, everything in the marriage and in our marriage, I consider ours. There isn't like this is mine and this is hers. It's all ours, and we make it work. And when I'm gone, I'm definitely not going to be caring about houses or cars or money or savings accounts or anything like that. And if I can make my wife's life easier by doing that, I'm it's all hers, and then she can do with it as she pleases. Because again, it's just ownership. People can do with their own assets as they want. So again, if the kids are giving you the gold digger vibe, I mean, talk to them about it. But it comes down to, again, it's your money. They're not entitled to it. Nobody's entitled to it. And let them deal with that. So really, it just comes down to estate planning. My brother is an attorney. He actually does estate planning. Find a good attorney. I'm not saying call my brother, but I'm saying find a good attorney that can get this stuff settled, because it's stupid. It's absolutely stupid that people are fighting over this. And it's probably the most juvenile thing. So get some estate planning, set expectations, and be done with it. And if the kids are being jerks about what you're going to leave them, then give your money to a cat, or I don't know, maybe somebody that'll actually appreciate it. So I guess along with since we're talking about adult kids acting like jerks, one of the other issues I see is that kids can really, and adults can really be jerks on social media. Yeah, shocker. If you've been on Facebook or Twitter or anywhere, it's kind of amazing how people will act when they're not face to face and they're sitting in front of a keyboard, and I don't know, there's this weird mentality that goes on. So oftentimes what you'll do is you will see, and I guess by being jerks on social media, maybe they're not being intentional jerks, but you'll see, for example, that the anniversary of their dad and the late wife comes up, and they post something on social media or on like their Facebook page or something saying, oh, mom and dad were married 30 years ago, and I wish she was still alive, blah, blah, blah. That in and of itself is fine, but the issue becomes then they tag their dad, they tag other people in the family, and suddenly either the widowers or the late wife's, or the late wife's, yeah, or the new wife's social media feed is suddenly filled with all these pictures and images and things of that nature. Basically, reminding her that, hey, someone was here before you, and sometimes, it's done innocently. Other times it's done vindictively. Again, kids are. And let's just face it, adults can be jerks about everything, or like they'll purposely post something and tag, their dad in it saying, oh, I miss mom so much, knowing that, that the new wife will see it and it'll cause issues. So I have two ways to deal with this. The first is that if there's somebody that's posting stuff all the time, again, whatever their intentions are, is that the widower really needs to talk to them and say, look, I understand you miss the late wife. I'm not going to tell you what you can or can't post on your Facebook feed, but I'm really asking that you don't tag me in it. And just kind of set the the expectation that, look, I miss her too, but I've kind of moved on, and this is causing unnecessary problems, and kind of give them the chance to make the first step and kind of rectify the situation. Because I think if the person is maybe unaware of the problems that it's causing, then I think you'll find that they'll clean it up really good, or even if they're posting, they're not tagging you, or things like that. If they're maybe being vindictive about it, they might throw a little bit of a fit about it, but I don't know. My thing is that if they're involving you in some way, in the sense that they're tagging you and things like that, you have a complete right to ask them not to do that. Again, so social media wasn't around after I lost my wife, but in the years following, I can't tell you how many cards I'd get or emails I'd get, from people. Oh, hey, it's been so many years since Krista died, and we're thinking about her, we're thinking about you. And I understood where people were coming from. They weren't trying to be hurtful, but it's one thing, when you walk out to your mailbox and there's 10 cards in there, people are saying, hey, we're thinking about you on this day, and your new wife is the one that gets the cards, and how does she feel, kind of thing. So I get why people do it, and again, I think most of the time they're not being malicious or trying to be vindictive. They're just trying to, they just have some good memories and want to share them. But again, I think first of all, you just talk to them, tell them, hey, please, again, you can post what you want, but don't tag me in it. And I think most of the time that'll solve the problem. Now, if it doesn't, the one thing I do like about social media is that you have control over it. People think you don't have control over it, but you do have control over social media. So if you do have someone that won't stop tagging you, you have the ability to set, your social media settings so people can't tag you. Or if they do tag you, you have to approve the post before it goes on your timeline. You can unfriend or unfollow people if they're acting like jerks. That's the one thing I've never understood about it. Is people get upset that so and so is doing something on social media, and I'm always like, dude, why are you even following them? Why are you even looking at their stuff? I'm still friends with lots of people on Facebook, but I don't follow them in the sense that they're always posting stuff that annoys me, or just isn't. It's just not stuff I want to see on my feed. So I take control of my feed, and you can do that too. It doesn't matter if you're the widower or if you're his wife or girlfriend. If stuff's showing up there that you don't want, and the widowers talk to these people and they're still doing it, unfollow them. You can set settings so you don't see posts that your widower's tagged in. You can take control of this. Social media is awesome and great. It allows you to connect to people, but it's also, social media in my mind is also the gateway to the soul. I think if you just scroll through someone's Facebook feed or Instagram feed or Twitter feed and they are fairly active on it, you'll get a really good idea of who that person really is. And if people are going to be jerks, the cool thing is you don't have to let them be jerks online. You can customize your feed, so you're just seeing things that you want to see. So if the talk doesn't work, take control of your social media. If you don't know how to do it, Google is your friend. Go out there and Google how to block things or to do things. I mean, look, I've had people that I've friended on social media, and they feel like tagging me in every political post for some reason. You know what? And I've asked them to stop, and if they don't stop, boink. I either unfriend them or unfollow them or set up, I have my settings in Facebook now, just so you know, if you try to tag me in anything, I've got to actually approve the post before it'll appear on my timeline. It's just the way that it is. I take control. I don't get mad when I get on social media anymore. It's actually really cool. So, and then, I'd also go back, I guess people are saying, well, what if they're just being jerks? What if they're posting mean things or posting things to get a rise out of you? Again, you can't control other people's actions. If people are going to be jerks, they're going to be jerks. You can ask them to stop being jerks. I don't think there's anything wrong with, there's nothing wrong with that approach, but it doesn't always work. And so, take control of your thing. If they're trying to do something to get a rise out of you or to make you angry or to have you go complain to the widower and then have him complain, who's really running the show here? They are. Take control, and you know what? Probably the less time you spend on social media, the better anyway. Your life's a lot better if you're hanging out with your a widower and you're going on dates or you're going on trips together or you're just sitting down and watching a TV show because that's what you want to do. So, again, look at an estate planning thing, take control of your social media feed. Your life will be 10 times better than it is now, and you'll be a lot happier. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe. Got another video down for you to watch. I'm Abel Keogh, author of author of Dating a Widower, and I'll be back next Wednesday with another video. Thank you.